Broadcasting from the basement of La Penta, it's WICR.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Sports Vault. Jersey Joe Archino back here. And $400 million is a lot of money. But the question is Bryce Harper worthy of getting a $400 million contract? Now, obviously, Major League Baseball is kind of going to be starting up again before we know what pitchers and catchers reporting in the next couple of days. So the talk is going to begin to start to be relevant. And Harper kind of making comments, the other day saying, when kind of addressed about this is, I don't really think about that stuff. I just try to play the years out and do everything I can to help my team win, but don't sell me short. I think that's the thing that really is starting to make people wonder about what kind of contract he would kind of warrant, what kind of money he would kind of be worthy of. And obviously, you have to look at his season last year to really put it all into perspective. And NL MVP, it was really pretty easy. Hit 330, 42 home runs, 99 RBIs. It really was the coming out party for Harper, and we've kind of seen gradual build-ups of his play, but you could really tell that he was all locked in on all focus, and really the results paid off with those incredible numbers last season. But I look at Harper and I look at the prospect of him potentially receiving a $400 million contract, and I don't really have a problem with it. I think you have to be very careful in the MLB today, and because we have seen just the rise of incredible amounts of money being paid out to players. A lot of pitchers getting massive deals. You look at Greinke's to the Diamondbacks, David Price to the Red Sox. There has been exorbitant amounts of money given out to these players, and we haven't always seen them work out. They certainly haven't worked out with more hitters, I think, than pitchers, but a lot of the cases like that you look at, and it's bad timing. When Miguel Cabrera got his incredible extension with the Tigers, it wasn't maybe the best timing because of age. Albert Pujols to the Angels, the amount of money, the amount of years, the age, not always the best timing. This is perfect timing. We look at what the Rays did with Evan Longoria. Evan Longoria was very, very young when he got that deal. And when you're going to give these deals, of course, it's easier and it's better to give it to them when they're young. Bryce Harper is 23 years old. He just put up a season where he's the NL MVP. He hit 330, had 42 home runs and 99 RBIs. To do that at such a young age, I think makes you have to feel more confident than if you're given this deal to a 30-year-old. This kid is probably going to be 25 when he's eligible for a deal like this. And again, you kind of look at the numbers that he has put up to this point. He's played 510 games during his career in the MLB so far. He has 97 home runs and 248 RBIs in those 510 games. Very, very solid, great numbers there. And there's a lot of things that you like with a guy like Harper. I always go back to the reason he wears 34, to pay tribute to Mickey Mantle. And I think when you have a kid like this, and that's what baseball needs now. We have seen a youth movement in Major League Baseball, and that is exactly what the game needed to recover. The game was not doing too well for a little while. The viewership was down, attendance at games were down. But we really saw a better job last season, and Rob Manfred deserves so much of the credit for it at really advertising and selling this youth movement. Guys like Chris Bryant, Mike Trout, Bryce Harper. There is such an explosion of youth and talent in Major League Baseball, and the league has done a good job at selling that on that. You even look at the playoffs last year. You had the Houston Astros. You had the Cubs. You had so many of these young teams led by these young players doing great things, and it just helps the game. And more than anything, the pace of play is what I think is going to win the game back in a lot of people's eyes, because people just didn't have – it was a time investment 2-3 seasons ago to watch a baseball game. Now it is much more manageable. It is much more easy to sit down and watch an entire game. And I think those elements really have made the game more attractive. And when you have young players like Bryce Harper, it helps the game dramatically. And people, always are going to bat an eye when incredible amounts of money are paid out like this. But you have to look at it from the timing perspective. This kid is going to be 25 when he gets this deal. It's probably going to be like a 10-year, $400 million deal potentially, and with that, he's probably going to be out of it or maybe towards the end when he's 35. So you're really going to be getting this kid for the majority of the prime of his career. And I think because of that, I don't have a problem with it. I did have a little bit of an issue with Pujols, not because he's getting the money. That stuff never bothers me. Is he worthy of that? Is this a smart investment? These teams all do their due diligence for the most part. Some not as well as others, but most of them do their due diligence. They're not going to dish out these incredible amounts of money unless they really feel that they have a worthy investment that is worthy of that money over the given time. Harper is one of those guys where it is. I think Harper, Bryant, Trout, whatever these guys end up getting is totally worth it because, again, you have a young face you could sell around your franchise, and more than anything, these guys are clean. And that is also something you really can't put enough words into how much it means. Again, one of the reasons Major League Baseball, again, really was diminished in a lot of people's eyes is because they didn't know if what they were watching was legitimate. And is everybody I'm watching on the field here clean? I mean, that's a question everybody had to legitimately ask after the Bonds and the Palmeiros and the Sosas and A-Rods and all those players. The trust was not in the fans' eyes, and when you lose the trust of the fans, they're going to run away from the game. But I think more than anything, it helps that these players are so good, so transcendent, but you can also trust them again because we know how difficult and how vigorous Major League Baseball is with their drug testing today. They're going to do everything they possibly can to stop stuff like that from happening again because the damage that was done to the game because of the steroid era, they lost a lot of fans forever because baseball, more than any other sport, is built on the numbers, and the numbers just won't ever mean anything to a lot of people, including myself. The numbers to me don't mean anything anymore. The numbers are ruined. The home run records are ruined. Every number in the game doesn't mean anything anymore because of the steroid era, but it is a new chapter, and I think with these guys, you can kind of have a vote of confidence in them that there's the trust that these guys aren't using performance-enhancing drugs. And, you always have to have a little bit of doubt in your mind because that's the culture baseball has been built on, and it's something that we as fans should be smart enough to recognize. But I think that these guys are worthy of kind of getting the benefit of the doubt in this scenario. But the question at the top of the segment, is Bryce Harper worthy of a $400 million contract? If you ask me, I'd say I think he is. It's very difficult in a lot of these cases to really think that any player is worth that massive commitment of money. But for a young player like that, when you're going to get him for so many years where he's still in his prime and he's young, I think it's warranted. But, if you look at a lot of the teams that do give these incredibly big deals, they're not really the ones winning World Series. I mean, look at the Giants. Look at the Royals. Do they have an incredibly big-time player who's locked up to this kind of massive contract? Not really. What wins in Major League Baseball, we know. I mean, it's the old cliche, timely hitting and pitching, yes, but more than anything, it's depth. Look at the depth of the Kansas City Royals. Look at all the amount of arms they have in that bullpen. They have great starting pitching. They have a really good lineup. They don't have a stud like a Mike Trout, like a Bryce Harper, but they have a good collective balance across that lineup. That's what wins in the MLB. Look at the Giants when they won all those World Series. They have such great collective depth all over. They have a great bullpen. They had a great starting pitching rotation, and they had great hitters. Not nobody who is a transcendent talent, but they have good enough hitting, good enough pitching. And it's just about creating an overall depth. So, if the Nationals do lock up Bryce Harper, that's no sure commitment that they're going to win anything because you do look at a lot of these contracts and you link them back to the teams. That doesn't always correlate. It really comes down to, in Major League Baseball, depth. Building your team with the right amount of depth, making the right investments, not always committing it all to one player and banking a lot of your success on that. It's about creating depth in the key areas that win the game, and really that comes down to your bullpen, having enough starting pitching, and having somewhat of a balance on your offense. But we look at Bryce Harper, and certainly he's one of the players I think right now who's giving baseball the youth movement that they need. This era of baseball to me right now is defined and should be categorized as the youth movement that could potentially save the game and take it into the future, because it's baseball desperately needed help, and right now it's getting some much needed help from the young faces of the game like Bryce Harper, like Mike Trout, like Chris Bryant. They've just got to continue to carry the mantle and go forward, and I think those guys are capable of doing that. But until that happens, Jersey Joe Archino here with the Sports Vault. You can follow me on Twitter at Joe Archino, on Instagram Jersey_Joe_Archino, and we'll see everybody next time.